Picture this. You're about to drop $180,000 on your dream manufactured home. Suddenly you discover the shocking truth that could have saved you from a financial nightmare. What I'm about to reveal made dealers furious, but you need to know this before signing anything. Before we dive deeper, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Your engagement helps more people avoid these costly mistakes. Now, let's get into the unsettling reality of this industry. Here's the cold, hard truth. 78% of manufactured home buyers fall victim to at least one major scam during their purchase process. The worst part? Most never even realize they've been taken advantage of until it's too late. But after today, you'll be in that protected 22%. Let's talk about the invisible markup scheme. Dealers often show you a base price that seems reasonable, then gradually stack on what they call necessary features. Each addition seems small enough, but by the end, you're paying 40% more than you should. I've seen people overpay by $35,000 without even realizing it. Here's something that will make your blood boil. Dealers often use what we call the urgency scam. They'll tell you another buyer is interested in the same home or claim prices are about to increase. It's almost always a lie designed to rush you into a decision before you can think clearly. Let's talk about the delivery and setup deception. Many dealers advertise free delivery and setup, but they've already baked those costs into the home's price. Then they hit you with surprise fees for things like site preparation, utility connections, and permit handling. I've seen these hidden costs add up to $15,000. Here's a secret that made one dealer threaten to sue me. They sometimes sell homes with structural damage that's been cosmetically covered up. I'm talking about floor joists patched with cheap materials, hidden water damage, and roof issues masked by quick fixes. The sales pressure tactics are psychological warfare. They use everything from artificial time limits to emotional manipulation. I've seen salespeople pretend to call their manager multiple times, each time returning with a slightly better deal to make you feel like you're winning. You're not. Want to know what really happens in the dealer's back office? They have a playbook of responses for every customer objection. They train their staff to use specific psychological triggers to break down your resistance. I've seen these techniques double a home's price during negotiations. The energy efficiency lie costs buyers thousands every year. Some dealers advertise homes as energy efficient without any real upgrades. They show you misleading utility bills from different climate zones or carefully staged demonstrations that don't reflect real-world conditions. Land package deals often hide the biggest scams. Dealers partner with land sellers to offer package deals, but they inflate both the land and home prices. They count on you focusing on the combined monthly payment rather than the actual value of what you're buying. The customization con game works like this. They show you a beautiful model home, then explain that each customization you want will cost extra. What they don't tell you is that many of these features should be standard or cost far less than what they're charging. Speaking of model homes, that perfect display model you fell in love with? It's often built to higher standards than what you'll actually receive. They use better materials and finishing touches in their display models, knowing you'll assume your home will be identical. Most buyers don't realize that dealers frequently play games with home specifications. They'll advertise a home with premium insulation values, top-grade windows, and superior materials, but deliver something entirely different. The specification sheets are often deliberately confusing to hide these downgrades. Let's talk about what I call the square footage shell game. Some dealers include exterior measurements in their square footage calculations, making homes seem larger than they actually are. By the time buyers realize they've lost 100 to 200 square feet of living space, it's far too late to do anything about it. The appliance package scam is another favorite industry trick. They'll include what seems like a generous appliance package, but these are often the lowest quality models available. Then they charge premium prices for upgrades to even basic models. I've seen dealers mark up appliance upgrades by 300%. Transportation damage is a dirty secret in the industry. Homes often sustain damage during delivery, but dealers may try to rush you through the inspection process before you can discover it. Always demand a thorough inspection before signing the final papers. I've documented cases where dealers tried to hide $20,000 worth of transport damage. The foundation requirements scam has trapped countless buyers. Dealers sometimes understate the foundation requirements for your specific site and soil conditions. Later, you're hit with massive additional costs for proper foundation work that should have been included in your initial quote. Here's a trick that particularly infuriates me: the bait and switch on construction materials. They show you samples of premium flooring, cabinetry, and fixtures, but what gets installed is often vastly inferior. They count on buyers not knowing enough about building materials to spot the difference. The timeline manipulation tactic is particularly sneaky. Dealers promise quick delivery and setup, but then deliberately create delays to pressure you into accepting price increases or lower quality materials. They claim supply chain issues or weather delays while really just maximizing their profit margins. The utility connection confusion is another costly trap. Dealers often provide vague or incomplete information about utility connection requirements and costs. Buyers later discover they need expensive upgrades to their electrical service or septic systems that should have been disclosed upfront. Let's expose the upgrade pricing scam in detail. Dealers often price upgrades as if they're being added to an existing home, charging full retail installation costs. In reality, these upgrades are being installed during construction at a fraction of the cost they're charging you. Environmental compliance is another area where dealers often cut corners. They may skip important tests for things like soil contamination or floodplain compliance, leaving buyers vulnerable to expensive environmental remediation requirements down the road. The market value manipulation scheme is particularly sophisticated. Dealers sometimes create artificial comps by selling homes to affiliated parties at inflated prices, then use these transactions to justify higher prices to legitimate buyers. The site preparation pricing scam deserves special mention. Dealers often provide lowball estimates for site work, knowing full well that actual costs will be much higher. Once you're committed to the purchase, these extra costs suddenly become your problem to solve. The seasonal pricing scam is pure fiction. Dealers create artificial sales events and seasonal discounts to create urgency, but these prices are often higher than what you could negotiate during normal times. They're counting on your fear of missing out to cloud your judgment. The code compliance dodge costs buyers dearly. Some dealers knowingly sell homes that don't meet current building codes, leaving buyers to deal with expensive modifications or fines from local authorities. They hide behind phrases like buyer responsibility to avoid liability. The ventilation system deception is another costly trap. Many dealers install inadequate ventilation systems that barely meet minimum requirements. This leads to moisture problems, mold growth, and poor air quality. Upgrading these systems after the fact can cost thousands. The utility easement oversight is particularly costly. Dealers may not properly check for utility easements on your property, leading to expensive surprises when you discover your home needs to be repositioned, or your site plan completely revamped to accommodate these restrictions. The HVAC capacity con is another industry secret. Dealers sometimes install undersized heating and cooling systems to cut costs, knowing full well they won't adequately handle extreme weather conditions. Upgrading these systems after purchase can cost upwards of $10,000. The permitting process deception is particularly underhanded. Dealers often downplay the complexity and cost of obtaining necessary permits and inspections. They know that by the time you discover the true requirements, you'll be too financially invested to back out. The contractor qualification con game deserves attention. Some dealers use unqualified or unlicensed contractors for crucial installation work, putting your home's structural integrity at risk. They pocket the difference between professional and amateur labor costs. The site preparation oversight scam is particularly expensive. Dealers might skip crucial soil tests or drainage assessments, leading to foundation issues down the line. By the time problems surface, they're long gone with your money, leaving you to deal with the consequences. The utility hookup confusion is a common trap. Dealers often provide vague estimates for connecting utilities, knowing that actual costs can be thousands more. They count on buyers being too far invested in the process to back out when these hidden costs surface. Let's expose the appliance upgrade pressure tactic. Dealers will often install basic appliances, then pressure you to upgrade by highlighting potential future problems. These upgrades are marked up far beyond retail prices, but they present them as special deals. The wind zone certification scam puts homes at risk. Some dealers will sell homes rated for lower wind zones than what your area requires, knowing that insurance companies will either deny coverage or charge excessive premiums. This leaves you vulnerable to both natural disasters and financial ruin.